everybody, Nicole here. Today we're going to be reading more from my new book, The Retelling of Fairy Tales. And this is a book of short stories, each 3 to 6 chapters long. And it's a really exciting book that, of course, retells fairy tales. I'm pretty obvious about that. And the one we're going to be reading today is Soulmates and Silence. Now, this book is fully illustrated by me, so you'll be able to see every chapter have its own unique illustrations. And Soulmates and Silence is a really fun book because it is the tale of the Little Mermaid, but really twisted around. Instead of having a lovely maiden lose her voice because she's too innocent to know any better, we have a sort of scoundrel lose his voice because he can't stop doing stupid things. He has to find his soulmate by the new moon, or else lose his voice forever. So let's go ahead and read the first chapter and see if you like it. We're reading on my Kindle again today. This is just a Kindle kind of day. Chapter 1. You did this to yourself. Unicorns. Throughout the lands, they are regarded as the most mystical and majestic of all creatures. Bodies like white stallions, muscular and powerful. Strands of golden hair that catch the light with rainbow hues, and singular horns that swirl in a glittering spiral, a holy sacred artifact said to cure even death. These creatures are considered purity itself by all who know their name, something that draws in the most delicate and innocent of maidens, creatures people hope and pray to see. Silent, a young man of light brown hair and lighter blue eyes, knows a fantastical beast such as this, was practically raised by him. Cody, one of the most ancient and renowned of all. Too bad he's such an asshole. If you hadn't left me behind again, this never would have happened in the first place, Silent thinks, the words holding little barbs he'd like to rake his friend with. Shoving roughly, Silent pounds his comrade's haunches to no avail, yanking strands of the creature's hair out to annoy it, if nothing else. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter how strong he is, the beast doesn't budge. It doesn't matter how much sweat he works up as he shoves, the unicorn's heavy frame is like a soft stone to beat his body against. Silent, staccato nasal puffs of effort merely make Cody roll his beautiful eyes. "Why take it out on me?" Cody says. "You did this to yourself. I tried to save you, but no! You had to go be all you about it." Silent silently lances Cody with this thought. "You're the one who taught me to be like this." Gesturing to his chest with his eyebrows up, he sneers, saying nothing, though the unicorn catches his drift anyway. "Unequivocally your fault." Cody lets out a snort. "Out of everyone to irritate, why did you have to pick Ambeck? He's the most powerful fairy spirit in the forest, not to mention he has a legion of sycophants. You're lucky you made it out alive." The glorified horse kicks backwards, missing Silent's shin by an inch. "You think because you're with me, oh mortal man, that you can do anything you want? Steal from people? Stab at people? Emotionally slap people until they cry like babies?" The unicorn glares at him with one shiny eye. "Because you absolutely can, but only when I'm there to teach you how to get away with it properly." To this, Silent only puts his face in his hands, scrubbing at his eyes. He hates this most recent turn of events in a lifetime of, well, events. Though, as usual, Cody is right. It was his fault. After all, earlier that day... Flashback. The forest was beautiful. Some said enchanted, and they were absolutely right. The woods were filled with a number of magical creatures, satyrs and nymphs, naiads and dryads, beasts both beautiful and terrible, awe-inspiring and oh so preciously rare, though perhaps, to Silent, they may not be nearly rare enough given how many of these stunning specimens posed an immediate threat to his personage. Baze, an overlarge troll, approached with spittle drooling from his fanged mouth, lips curling in a menacing sort of smile that would make any good henchman proud. Silent leaned backwards just in time to avoid the spiked club that Baze swiped his way, feeling the breeze of it on his neck. Any closer and he'd have bled out on the pretty tulips, something he'd prefer to avoid. Hey, hey, hey now, Silence shouted. What's the point in that? Ambec, the revered leader of this motley crew, scowled. The point is that I am insulted. You are insolent, vile, and have no respect for what's mine. All I did was pee on it. It was my wife. And she's a tree most of the time. How was I supposed to know? What else am I supposed to pee on? The grass? You eat the grass. That only made Ambec seethe. He jumped higher up on the craggy stone directly before Silent, looking down as if ready to eviscerate him. Yet somehow Silent barely noticed. He was too busy muttering to himself in thought, scratching his chin. Though I suppose everything else pees on the grass. What's a little human mixed in? Maybe you've developed a taste for it over time? Is it salty, like sweat? Looking up, he declared a mental victory, as if he'd solved one of life's greatest puzzles. If you prefer it that way, I promise to pee wherever you eat. Baze took another swipe at him. Silent ducked. What? It's seasoning! Ambec hollered in frustration, the spines on his back standing on end, resembling red fire and overselling his reaction. His narrow wings fluttered, but he did not fly, proof that he'd rather let his minions do his dirty work. Ambec's wife, the urine-soaked nymph, sat beside him with wide eyes, clutching at his hooves and looking the epitome of leafy innocence, though Silent knew better. This is likely not the first golden shower she'd indulged in. Another minion swooped in on the offensive. It was a sassy fawn that lurched forward this time, teeth out and ready to snap. Especially dangerous given that fawns were not tall. Silent backpedaled, clutching his groin to protect what was rightfully his while the mini-brute kept advancing, leaving Silent no choice but to roundhouse the poor bastard in the face, knocking out one of his weaponized front teeth in the process. A silence fell over the glade as the fawn spat out his obliterated tooth, root and all, and once the thing was done bouncing across the petal dirt, ping, ping, pa-ping, everyone turned in slow motion to look at Silent. First blood, someone whispered. Silent's entire body went rigid. Well, if you didn't try to eat what belonged to my soulmate someday, then this wouldn't have happened, now would it? Everyone stared, fists clenching slowly, dramatically. Knuckles cracked and teeth grinded, sending Silent's runaway mouth off into a nervous, one-sided banter. I mean, how would you like it if I nipped off your bits? Not that you have big bits, you being tiny you and all. I mean, if anyone has big bits here, it's Ambec. He's like a stud in rut, and I mean that in the nicest of ways, other than the fact that looking at him is mildly terrifying because it swings in my direction when he walks. It's like, if I got close enough, would it pendulum and touch me? Because I don't know if I could handle that emotionally. I might need to have a good cry about it. I'm just not that kind of guy. I mean, I'm the crying kind of guy, just not the touching huge bits kind of guy. Some random henchman broke into a laugh, and everyone else had to stifle a snicker, even the one less-toothed fawn. After all, a forest-wide truth was known. No one wanted to be whapped by Ambec's male parts. Sometimes, most of the time, not even his wife. The fairy spirit only needed to raise an eyebrow for everyone to settle into coughs of discomfort, though their mouths still twitched in barely contained amusement. While I appreciate your backhanded praise for my undercarriage, the crowd snorted again, lips trembling as they reined it in, that doesn't mean you've been saved from my wrath. All it means is that I'll kill you quicker. A reward for your compliment. With a waggle of Ambec's figures, the advance against Silent came again in earnest. Clubs, teeth, claws, the whole of Ambec's horde descended on him with a detached vengeance. Nothing personal, just another job to be done for the most powerful spirit they knew. Silent wasn't much of a fighter, but a dodger? That was where his true strength lay. His muscles were wiry and his form slender, making it easy to tip this way and that, slipping between his enemies, sucking back to avoid a taloned swipe through the air, and lunging to the ground for a quick roll between Baze's tree-trunk ankles. Still, they closed in, and Silent got pushed ever closer to a thicket of brambles, the burrs of which were tipped with long-lasting poison that would leave him itching in the most unsightly of places. A must-avoid kind of plant. Please don't let it ruin my day, he thought. A whinny of salvation pealed out in high-pitched notes as Cody, that marvelous son of a magical mare, leapt out over not only the pricker bush but over Silen's head, landing stoutly between him and the gathering of henchmen. The beast stabbed his horn forward in a gesture that was quite clear. "Come closer and I will gut you." Still clutching Ambek's legs, the nymph's hand flew up in rapture as she stated the obvious. "A unicorn!" "Yes, dear, we all have eyes," Ambek said. Cody puffed air out through his thick lips, making a rumbling sound as his horn threatened. "This human is under my protection." Everyone blinked, confused. It was unheard of. A precious unicorn and a mundane man? Ambek, nearly dazed with the idiocy of it, asked, "Why in the name of the forest would you—" "I'm charming," Silent cut in from behind his friend's rear. "And hilarious. You think so too, I know. You're just being shy because you're mad at me. Though in all honesty, it should be your wife that's mad at me. Unless she liked it." Cody responded with a flick of the tail that effectively slapped Silent's mouth closed, though he was otherwise unfazed. It was only when Ambek chuckled, a dark look on his face, that the human got his first chill of fear. "I'm dead, aren't I?" The spirit took a seat next to his wife on the high rock and hummed in contemplation, eyeing Silent with malice barely hidden under his smile. "So dead. 80 times over dead. Harpies eating my insides for all eternity dead." Ambek looked haughty. Eyebrows raised and lips quirked up at the corners, his wings gave another excited quiver. "Since you're so charming, Silent of the River, why don't I go ahead and give you the opportunity to prove it? I propose a wager." Cody grunted. "That doesn't sound ominous at all." Ambek slid his hand around his wife's shoulders, bringing her close and kissing her fall-colored hair. "You mentioned a soulmate. You have a mark, yes?" From behind Cody's tail, Silent lifted his tunic. Just over his navel was a red swirl, something like a spiral. He wanted to find the person who owned a matching symbol with his whole heart, but at this point feared he never would. Not unless he walked up to every girl he knew with his shirt hemmed to his chest, baring his belly, which would be the worst kind of attention-seeking possible. Even Silent had his limits. Ambek's smile was sly. "Then we have our wager." "Say again?" Cody asked, his horn still lowered and ready to go. "I'll be making your ward live out his namesake. Silent shall become Silent. I'm taking his voice." Both Cody and Silent tipped their heads to the sky with groans. "What?" balked the unicorn. "What?" balked the man. "But I sing like an angel." "You sing like a crow," Cody corrected, "but I'll be even more irritated if you're mute." "See?" Silent gestured at his friend. "Do you really want to annoy a And his voice dropped to nothing. Absolutely nothing. Silent grasped his throat, mouthing words that wouldn't come with wide eyes. It was like an emptiness took over his insides. With both hands he patted himself, filling with terror as he looked to his friend for guidance. Cody stared at him for a minute before rearing his head back and yelling, "Ah!" They both stomped their feet in an arrhythmic pattern, tearing grumpy holes in the ground, hooves and boots kicking up clots in their shared anger/depression. With a snort, Cody said, "Fine. What's your game? I assume he gets his voice back if he meets your demands." "Of course, and I'm a spirit of my word. I keep all my promises." Ambek gestured to himself like he was somehow all the more benevolent for it. Silent only gave him a rude gesture with his finger, but did it behind his friend's rump to avoid any further repercussions. With his hand towards the clouds, Ambek smiled. "It's a full moon tonight. A time for lovers, is it not? Let's give Silent a chance to seek out his fated companion. If he finds his soulmate by the next full moon and earns a kiss of true love despite losing his charm, all is forgiven." "His soulmate?" Cody asked. He bared his teeth in that weird way only horse-like creatures could, his upper lip lifting strangely. "Not just a lover, but one with his mark?" "That's the wager," Ambek said with a shrug. Again the unicorn stomped with an "ah ha ha ha" directed at the sky. Startling Silent from his inconvenient flashback, Cody grabbed the man by the leather of his tunic and whips him aside, landing him rump first in the grass. Grumbling, the unicorn plods close enough to hover over him, casting ominous shadows. If the concept of idiocy could grow a face, it would look like yours. Slack-jawed, dirty, and with its eyebrows lifted all the way up to its hairline in everlasting surprise. Silent hefts himself up, getting back into his friend's face without fear. He has so many comebacks for this mythical prick of a horse, but is unable to spit any of them. It's enraging. If his hands could wrap around Cody's neck, he'd throttle this amoral immortal. Still, without Cody jumping into the fray, this could have gone so much worse. In fact, if not for his friend, Silent's entire life would have been, well, unlivable, really. Cody hasn't just saved him once or twice. He's been saving Silent for as long as he can remember. And even during those times when Cody is the one actively, purposefully getting him into trouble, he's always there to help Silent get out of it again. This will be no different. Cody has never abandoned him. Never will. Silent believes in that the way he believes in the sky. I can't stay mad at you, Silent thinks at his friend, going from gesturing rudely towards his face to petting his muzzle, trying to soothe their mutual vexation. Cody tolerates it for only a moment before pulling away. You have the weepy eyes, Cody grunts. Don't with the eyes! You know how I feel about the eyes! Silent loves his friend, his comrade, his mentor, if a unicorn could qualify as such a thing. I said stop! Holding his hands over his heart, Silent spreads them and signals love flowing from him to Cody, the action intended to annoy the unicorn more than anything else. Silent then begins to do a mock dance of appreciation and kinship, though it probably comes off as a mental illness of some kind. Not too keen on body language, Cody rolls his dewy eyes. I already hate this. Don't move. The unicorn points his magical spire directly towards Silent, whose hands go up in immediate surrender. Don't be stupid, his friend hisses, backing him up until Silent's rear end hits a tree. He squints his eyes shut, preparing to be dispatched for no reason whatsoever, until Cody's horn taps him against his forehead. He feels a sudden pulse in his brain, a heavy thump, and all the sensation around him become more. Head swimming, Silent goes to his knees. Yeah, it'll do that, Cody says, as if it was an everyday occurrence. Give it a minute. A minute? Silent thinks. My mind just popped. It didn't pop, Cody says. I just connected our souls on a deeper level. You're magical, I'm infinitely more magical, it was easy. This forest ebbs and flows with a never-ending pattern of enchantments. Now you can finally see, hear, experience its richness. Silent looks at his friend's eyebrows knit. Did you just hear my thoughts? Out of everything I just said, that's all you came away with? Cody blows a puff of air out and straightens, looking back over his withers towards the tree line. We have to find your match. Normally one is born close to the other, but that doesn't guarantee your families don't migrate. Silent sulks, feeling his old hurt. Too bad I don't remember the name of my village. It would have been a good starting place. Yes, well, we can traipse around the area where I found you, stir up some old memories. Silent doesn't need words this time. He just makes a face. If she's your soulmate, chances are she's waiting for you and not married off to some other unwashed male. Perhaps she's still unattached and innocent. Adults will throw their virgins at the woods if they hear I'm prancing around. We can spirit a few away and see what comes of it. Silent narrows his eyes in reproach. Don't you start with me. Cody is never one to be moved by morality. If you have to trick her to come with me, she's probably not my soulmate, Silent thinks. Cody pokes his horn against Silent's belly a little too hard. We'll just look for one of these. Some ladies wear their bodice hems high and their skirt waists low. Tantalizing, but I don't think any virgins they throw at you would dress like that. Besides, I like a hint of bashfulness in my women. Says the man who's never even had a woman. Silent crosses his arms and scowls. Being soulmated comes with consequences. If you try to pair with the wrong person, not only is it revolting, but it hurts to even try. His teenage years taught him that much. I'm just shy, he thinks. says the man who exposed himself and pissed on a nymph. Mistaken identity! Silent lifts his hands before letting them clap back down against his thighs. So what, then? We're just going to go around the woods hoping for naked women? Cody's tail twitches, flicking a fly off his hawk. No, we'll do it my way. Silence sighs. So we're spiriting away a damsel? Damsels, perhaps, plural. It's the easiest way. Cody's eyes glisten. And the most fun. Silence' silent groan cannot be overstated. So, that's your taste of Soulmates and Silence. And I hope you liked it. If you're hoping to hear more, you can check out my YouTube channel. You can listen to authors give interviews with me. You can listen to me read more of my chapters from different books. And if you're hoping to buy the book, then all of the links will be in the description below. Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.